The idea of a global village or a flat world, it's been an ideal. And over the past decade or two, we have had a lot of economic globalization. India has been part of that. Economic globalization would mean a free flow of goods, services, money around the world. And we've seen it to a large extent. For example, we have call centers in Bombay, in Bangalore, servicing customers in the USA. We have our large Indian companies like Infosys or any of the large Indian companies being able to raise money from the American markets, from Wall Street. The other aspect is cultural globalization, which we've been slower on. And some would say that's maybe a good thing. But others would also object that it has been happening, cultural globalization has been happening, but in an imbalanced way. That is, it's been more from the West to the East and not too much the other way around. This links up to some extent with economic globalization because now we have large American and European companies, food chains, all operating in India, which is a sort of a economic cultural inflow. We have the best of European and American fashion available here, the best of their products, fast food, and that's because they have been quick to invest in these large markets in India. On the other hand, the reverse flow from India to the West, for example, our pav bhaji and our achars and chutneys haven't flown that way. Neither has our say, culture in terms of clothing or probably one of the cultures that has flown in the opposite direction to some extent is movies. Bollywood has. The reverse globalization that has been happening very gradually, right since the 60s, is our culture in terms of yoga, in terms of some of our classical music as taken to the West by ambassadors like Ravi Shankar. But these have been slow and gradual processes, and they are not so dramatic. Definitely not as dramatic as it has been in the last decade, the way Western culture has come to India. Well, one flow of culture from east to west again, in small parts and very gradually, has been our religious thinking, our philosophy, which is again linked to our practices like yoga. Many religious leaders have made a base in the West, and they have followers. Some would say that countries like India have become westernized and the reverse flow hasn't happened enough. But you have to understand that over time, for example, many of our ideas, our philosophies, the Buddhist philosophy, for example, has been widely permeating the West in a gradual manner, but it has. And some famous celebrities like Richard Gere, for example, are Buddhists. Traditional clothes have become almost like costumes, and this is the case all over the world. But this is a very obvious, and in a way, though it's a very pervasive thing, but it's the most superficial part of culture probably. But deep down, I'd say that cultures are different around the world even now, which is probably one good thing, which is what makes the world so interesting. And even in economic liberalization, people know that cultures are going to be different, and one size doesn't fit all for most products, except for maybe the McDonald's hamburger. Even that in India has been vegetarianized.